Hello and welcome to The Issues. This topical programme brings you the issues that affect us locally, nationally and internationally as well. And we speak to prominent members of our political members within our region in the Northwest. And today our guest is James Daly, Member of Parliament for Bury North. And I'd like to welcome James, who is sitting in our Westminster studio at the moment. Hello, James.
Hello, how are you? Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, thank you for joining us, James, at such short notice as well, and we're very grateful for your time. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you're a Yorkshireman, like myself.
Yeah.
You know, and
I was born in Huddersfield. Went to the local comprehensive school there. Single mum. She was brilliant. She was a cleaner. She was, I think, probably my inspiration. And if somebody asked me what's motivated to get me where I am today, it's my mum. She was somebody who wanted to really improve her situation in life. Mm-hmm. She didn't have any qualifications when she left school, but when I was just after I was born, she started, took her O levels as they were then, A levels, went through, mm-hmm. and had a fantastic career as a social worker. So she's been a real inspiration to me. Mm-hmm. I qualified as a solicitor. I was a criminal defence solicitor for many years. And 12 years ago, I went for a job application in Bury, for a job interview, should I say, in Bury. Mm-hmm. Hadn't been there before, and met a lady who interviewed me. That lady's now my wife, so the job interview went quite well. And I'm still a partner at the firm solicitors where I got the job all those years ago. I've been a councillor in Bury now for the best part of a decade. Okay. I live in the constituency, have done for a long time. I've got two fantastic sons who go to a local school. And I'm very much part of Bury, Ramsbottom and Tottington, which, as you know, is the best constituency in the country. I have so many friends in the Muslim community. I've got two caseworkers, Shabazz and Khalid, who are very, very good friends of mine. And it's just a brilliant place to live, to work, to
that's
play.
Plugging the Bury.
No, we can keep going with the plugs for Bury. Come on.
You've plugged it out of the lead existence here. So anyway, many congratulations on your victory in December 2019, and I wish you the very best in the future, and I'm sure you're going to achieve monumental things for the residents of Bury North. So let's talk about the current issues, the current issues that are affecting a lot of the country, a lot of the world, actually, all of the world in effect, and that is coronavirus. The laws that have been brought in, they are forcing six people to come together. How do you think that coronavirus has now become a divisive thing that is now in danger of bringing the communities into kind of
Well, I think the first thing I should say that as we speak here today, the 6-person rule doesn't actually impact us at the moment in Bury. We have restrictions in Bury whereby you can only associate within a household with a single, so the household that you have can only associate with a single person household, and in most circumstances that's obviously less than 6. I think in terms of the 6-person rule that you're talking about, I think it's very challenging. I think it's something that none of us want. I think that Bury, Ramsbottom and Tottington is an example of a community who've all pulled together, who've all tried their very best to abide by the guidance and the rules that the government have set down. I hope that the experience of, can I just make this point? I look at COVID as uniting us rather than dividing us. And the sooner we have to abide by these rules, the sooner we drive down that infection rate, the sooner we'll be back to normal.
But the rules are coming in thick and fast, and they're going up and down, left, right and centre. It's leaving people reeling. They don't know whether they're coming or going. Today there's 30 persons, next week six persons, the week after, it's going to be 1 person. Then you've got weddings are excluded and children excluded, and up to 11-year-old children are not counted if there's 6 people, and the 7th one is an 11-year-old. He's not counted as a person. Don't you think these are very, very confusing rules that have been brought in? And they could have been simplified in some way that. We're going. Do you think we're going down the wrong line here? Wrong road?
I think the government, the idea of the 6-person rule was to simplify the guidance to people so that it was very clear. Now, people are going to take different views on that, but that was certainly the government's intention in bringing this in. There is a bigger debate regarding whether the 6-person rule is actually needed. Obviously, you hear the Secretary of State, and I fully support him when he says that he's guided by the medical evidence and the need to protect the health of the most vulnerable in our community. So, like in all these situations, nobody expected this, nobody thought this was going to happen. There are mistakes that are made, but the government are doing their very, very best now to give very clear guidance that everybody can understand, that you can't, obviously we all want schools back, we want people back at work, so there has to be exemptions to it, but I think the guidance given is very, very clear now.
Well, what about the huge resource that is required by the government, for example, by the police, for example, to be able to reinforce the rules that have been brought in? I mean, do you think that the police has got enough resources? If people are going to be phoning, looking over people's gardens, saying, "Oh, there's 7 people next door," and phoning the police left, right, and centre, 999. That service is going to be devastated.
Well, I think devastated is too strong a word. I have full confidence in our public servants to be able to carry out what the state requires them to do. If as the local member of parliament, the police or the teachers or whichever sector the local government come to me and say that because of the guidance, because of the rules that the government have put in place, we need more resources, we need to do this in a different way, I will be straight down at parliament arguing and saying, give us those resources so we can keep people safe and protected. So I have full confidence that certainly within Bury and in the country at large, that our fantastic police force is going to be able to cope with, I hope, but I think it's an important point to make. There's no evidence to say that they're not going to. Let me tell you that there was a police constable or higher up, a police commissioner, I think it was on Radio 4 this afternoon, saying that, if there are 7 people or even 8 or 9 or 10 people and they've been reported as gathered in a place, and there is somebody who's had an accident or there is another serious case somewhere else, they would put their resources to that, blatantly challenging the rules that have been put in place. And this is a policeman that is saying that they will put the resources to where it's needed and not to somewhere where there's 7 or 8 or 10 people. What do you say about that? Well, I think that is absolutely what the police must do. You only, depending on how the incidents that come through, no matter what the situation, whether we had COVID or not, the police have got to prioritise their resources where the need is. And if we have a serious incident of any kind, then the police have got to deal with that, and will do their very best to deal with other reports of either criminal behaviour or antisocial behaviour in the best way that they can. But that's no different in terms of normal policing. As I say, I was a criminal solicitor for well over 10 years, and that's how policing has been. If there was a car crash or there was a major incident, police officers would go there, and other perhaps things that are viewed as of less seriousness would be dealt with in a different way. Our police, again, I can only go on. People give interviews and give views, and that's clearly very important that we hear from everyone. But I've not heard from the police in Greater Manchester telling me that we can't cope with this. And I'm confident that if they thought that was a problem, they would come to me as a Member of Parliament and say, James, we need your help, or can you bring this to the attention of the government?
Thank you, James, on that. Well, let me just keep locally in Bury. I think you've provided a lot of PPE equipment for the local nursing homes and schools and the NHS as well. Tell us a little bit about that. Well,
we all, during the pandemic, we all had our part to play. Our key workers, our public servants, our care workers, all put their lives on the line, did everything possible to protect the most vulnerable. Now, within my office, we thought, what could we do? We've dealt with thousands of cases, trying to help constituents with all sorts of problems. But we thought, let's get out there, and Khalid and Shabazz were at the forefront of this. Let's try and make a real difference in our community. So we sourced in the region of £25,000 worth of PPE from very kind donations from people, but we went out and asked them and said, this is a need in Bury, and we went to care homes, we went to hospitals, we went to schools, we went to businesses, taxi drivers, and we gave them and said, here's the PPE, here's our contribution, and just one sign of our thanks for the efforts that you've done for our community during this time. So it was a small part for us to play.
Thank you. And staying in Bury, I think there's a huge, correct me if I'm wrong in saying it, but there's a huge concentration of Pakistanis and Kashmiris within Bury North area, and I think they played a huge part in your election as well. I think they threw a big party in your favour with drums and whistles and all that. Well, in December, last year. What is it that? What are you doing for this community in Bury North?
Well, in Bury, obviously, as you've just said, there's a large, sizable population of people of Kashmiri heritage, and they're the most dynamic, the most entrepreneurial, the most go-getting people that I've come across. It's absolutely fantastic to work with them. And during the pandemic, these were the people who were coming to me and saying, James, what is it that we can do? Local business owners, local shop owners, saying, I had a local shop owner, a Kashmiri local shop owner, who came to me and said, basically take what you want from the shop to give it to people who are in need. I had people giving us all sorts of PPE. So this is very much of a two-way relationship. In terms of what I'm doing, I hope that I'm giving that community a voice that it's not had under Labour for many, many years. A big part of my campaign was to raise the profile for taxi drivers, which many families are linked to taxi driving within the Kashmiri community in my seat, to drive down the costs of taxi driving, to ensure that they have a voice to oppose the clean air charge, which is really, really important, to make sure that their voice is heard, to ensure that they can pay their mortgages at the end of the day. So I'm very proud in respect to that, but I also want to be a cheerleader, not only for talking about really important international issues like Kashmir, which is the awful situation in Kashmir, but ensure that we are a unified community together. We are not different. We share the same values. And so, yeah, we've had parties, we've had marches, we've had meetings, we've had everything. I've eaten more wonderful food in the last 12 months than I've ever had in my life. And this is what I want to give Bury is optimism, hope, drive, determination, that we're all part of a bright future together, and that nobody's going to be excluded from that. Nobody's views are going to not be heard, and I'm here for everyone. So that's what I'm doing.
Thank you. And you talk about the bright future. While we're talking about the bright future, let's talk about Brexit, because that affects everybody's future right now. And the way things are nowadays, that there could be no deal. What do you think about that? This is a very pessimistic interview. I have absolute. This is the thing about optimism and about looking and always feeling that you can find a solution to something. When I talk about Kashmir, I don't just talk about it in the sense of let's just have sort of warm words. I feel that the situation through the United Nations, through a belief in human rights, can lead to a solution to the Kashmir problem. And Brexit is if we have a no deal. That same community that I've talked about, entrepreneurial, dynamic, unified community, will succeed and thrive. Obviously, we don't want that. We want to be friends with everybody. We want to make sure that we're the centre of a free trading bloc that not only includes Europe, but includes, Pakistan, that includes, Asia, that includes the whole world. And that positive vision is what I know will get us through this. We'll get a deal. I'm absolutely certain that we'll get a deal. We will come back to the issue of Kashmir as well. I will grill you on that in the second part of the show. But in the meantime, I want to stick with the Brexit side, because it's not my questions, these are people's questions that I pose to you. Of course. There's nothing personal here. If it was personal, it'll just be one-sided thing. And so we try to keep it as proportional as possible. The issues that affect, you talked about taxi drivers earlier on in Bury North. One of the major problems and issues that affect, the Asian community, the South Asian community, has a very special need. and that is, there's a lot of mental health issues within the South Asian and the Asian community. Somebody in your position can go a long way to put things in place for long term, because these are long-term problems, these are long-term issues that are embedded within the community, and people suffer silently, especially where there's mental issues are concerned. What is it that you can do in your position to bring these to the fore and bring some help to the people that it's badly needed?
Well, just as an example, it's not the exact, I'll come back to the mental health specifically in a second, but this week I was speaking with the Learning Disabilities Minister about creating a Learning Disabilities Hub in Bury. So people who are struggling, who have difficulty coming through, whether it's in a school environment or later in life, actually getting investment and actually getting the experts in one place so people know where they can go if they need assistance to drive through the change and to create the opportunities and give them the assistance they need for change. I've also been speaking with the local council and also with the Department of Health regarding how we can improve mental health services through that hub model. I think that and the people who are watching this can judge me by the end of this term that I will have secured extra investment to support mental health provision within Bury in a hub model. And why will I do that? Because I believe in it, because the services at the moment are not good enough. People should have confidence that they know where provision is. They don't have to be referred by the doctor. They can go to a hub. We need funding for that. I think Bury Council and the CCG will buy into that, as will the government. And we can then not only provide the help, assistance, counselling that people need in the areas where they live, whether that be in Red Vales or Eastwood or wherever else it is in Bury, we can transform lives. We can actually increase job opportunities. We can point to educational opportunities. And so if we put all of that together and make sure that people, no matter what their difficulties, no matter what the health issues that they're going through, they have somewhere to turn into in Bury, we're going to win. There's mental health provision at the moment, but it's not good enough. And I believe that if we have that centralised hub approach in various parts of Bury, it won't cost a massive amount of money. We're going to transform lives. That's what my vision, and I think I'm going to achieve that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We're speaking to James Daly on the issues, and we're going to take a short break right now, and we'll be back very soon.
Welcome to the Marcus Azara Show, a brand new chat show.
Yes, we have so much entertainment for you guys, live music and exclusive interviews with all of your favourite people.
And these artists are going to be from all over the place. The artists are... Zara? The artists?
You was meant to book the artist.
You mean you've not booked the artists?
No, that was
Zara.
your responsibility.
I wasn't.
Anyways, guys, just make sure you tune in.
Just don't tune out. Zara.
Marcus, this was your
You were supposed to book them. Why did you book them?
Do you know, I'm so fed up with working with you.
What is that supposed to... just make sure you tune in.
Marcus!
Our world is full of issues. There could be political issues, community issues, national or international issues. I will be discussing these issues that affect you in every aspect of your lives with prominent personalities each week. Join me, Harry Boota, on the issues. Hello and welcome to The Issues. You're with me, Harry Boota, and we are speaking with the Member of Parliament for Bury North, James Daly, on the issues that affect everyone, not just Bury North, but there are issues that affect us nationally and internationally, and we will continue to engage with our Member of Parliament, James Daly. James, welcome back. You went to Pakistan in February, I believe, and what was your experience like?
I was elected in December. The first thing I wanted to do was to join the APP, the All Party Parliamentary Group for Kashmir. I'm a vice chair and treasurer of that, and the first thing I made sure that I did was get on a plane with other parliamentarians to go to Kashmir, to speak to people on the ground there, not stay here hypothesising in the United Kingdom, actually go and see the people on the ground, how the human rights abuses and disgraces that are happening presently are actually impacting people's lives. So although I stayed in Islamabad and met the Prime Minister and other dignitaries, we spent most of our time in Kashmir. I visited the line of control. I went to a refugee camp, speaking to those people who have actually been impacted by this. So it was a memorable trip. I want to go back. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country with fantastic people there, and it really certainly one of the highlights of my time so far as an MP.
Well, I'm so pleased that you've loved your trip to this beautiful country, and it is a beautiful country for the people that are living there. But unfortunately and very sadly, that you were not able to go and see the true atrocities that are being committed, because I believe Debbie Abraham was turned back by the Indian authorities from going visiting the occupied region of Jammu and Kashmir. And I'm hoping that somehow, some way, that the APPG, as a vice chair and a treasurer of the APPG in the APPG, that you will somehow get a way of going visiting the other side, the other region, to get a true picture of what is going on. You know, unfortunately, it is not beautiful for those people on the other side right now, and that's where our challenges are, and that's where we keep pushing from within Britain, Pakistan, you know, from Europe. There are organisations that are putting pressure on various, you know, United Nations and other elected parliaments to get some action on the human rights violations that are taking place on a huge scale in the occupied region. And that's where the issue is. You know, that we need to get to the heart of the problem. The heart of the problem you cannot see, and how do we address that part of the problem?
Well, that's a big question. I'm also the chair of the Conservative Friends of Kashmir, and yeah, we were, as parliamentarians, we were extremely disappointed that we were not allowed into Indian occupied Kashmir. That we thought that as democratically elected politicians, that why would there be an objection to allowing us into a country to see an area? India is a democracy. Our chair, Debbie Abrahams, a Labour politician, wasn't allowed in. The rest of us clearly weren't allowed in. We will continue to work with the Indian authorities to attempt to find a way to allow us in there. I can't see a reason why wouldn't we be allowed in there?
Well, can we get a challenge up and running? Why can't we go in there? We'd like to know an answer. You know, the people would like to. The Kashmiris would like to know, have an answer as to why they're not. Well, our elected members of parliament who represent them are not allowed in the.
Well, I'm afraid that I can't give you that, because the Indian authorities didn't give us an answer. They just said you're not coming in, and that was that.
But where does democracy separate? You know, when do you become undemocratic? You know, you just said India is a democratic country, but they are behaving such an undemocratic way. So how do you challenge these people when they start to become undemocratic as nations? You know, can we put embargoes against them? You know, can we?
Well, the issue regarding Kashmir is an issue of human rights. It's an issue of universal human rights. Some of the things that I was told about by people who had been affected by them were the most appalling incidents of brutality that I've heard. As a lawyer, to hear that people can be under house arrest, can be arrested without trial for 2 years, and continuous detention without trial, that people can be brutalised, females can be brutalised in the most appalling manner, is absolutely appalling. And I hoped and thought that the Indian authorities would welcome the opportunity to show us that, you know, their side of the argument, if there is another side of the argument. In terms of what we can do, we must go through the United Nations. there is no other way in terms of dealing with this. The United Nations resolutions, which go back to 1947 and 1948, I am a firm believer in those. I'm a firm believer that through international pressure, with the help of the European Union and the United States and all others who are believers in the democratic tradition, the tradition of self-determination, that the people of Kashmir, the whole of Kashmir, should be given the opportunity to vote on their own futures through a plebiscite, through a referendum. And that's what true democracy is. It's clearly an issue here. We had a Scottish referendum quite recently. We had a European Union referendum here. We cannot argue that these were legitimate democratic exercises without supporting the hopes and aspirations of the Kashmiri people to have a say in their own future. There are people within Kashmir, within the area, who are not able to live free, open, independent life, to achieve their potential, to live as they want to live. And we as a united nations and a united community of the world should stand up for that. We as politicians within the UK, as politicians elsewhere, we should continue to lobby, we should continue to highlight this, we should continue to try and ensure that the plight of Kashmir and Kashmiris is on the media and on the radio and is brought to the attention of as many people as possible, and create a movement that can't be stopped, that creates a movement that believes in human rights, that wants to ensure that this voice, this downtrodden voice of Kashmiri people is heard. And that's how I think we are going to do it. A movement that has been that's been going for 70 years, but it needs us all to join it. It needs a worldwide recognition of the issue here. We're talking about two nuclear powers. This is a geopolitical issue of huge significance for the whole world, and the only way of doing this is by the world recognising the rights and human rights of all Kashmiris, and what that means. If we don't stand up for human rights in any country that are being abused, what does that say about the world community? And that's where I think politicians
that's exactly my point to you as well, that we keep on speaking about human rights, and these human rights have been taking place for the last 70 years, and over the last few years, on the 5th of August last year, what India did was absolutely against the constitutional rights of the Kashmiris, and yet it was allowed to carry on, and internationally nothing was done against it, and there is still nothing being done against what India did with the Kashmiris and their institution, the constitution. Well, sorry.
I was going to say that the lockdown, we started the interview talking about coronavirus and the lockdown and there, but the lockdown is nothing compared to what's happening in Kashmir and the restrictions of the liberties of the people of Kashmir. Now, you're talking to a backbench parliamentarian. My job is to represent my constituents' interests, to represent their hopes. What I do is I lobby our government to argue for exactly the action that you've taken. I lobby and stand up in Parliament and work with others on a cross-party basis to try and persuade a majority in our Parliament that the action that we take is to go to the United Nations to argue that the resolution should be enforced. Is that the correct word? Yep. We should go forward on that basis. So individual politicians unifying together to affect government decisions, that's the way that we do it. And we certainly, as long as I'm an MP, I will continue to lobby this government, any other government, and work with anybody to achieve that.
I absolutely commend you on your stance on this, and I think a lot of our listeners will be encouraged by your words as well. And talking about words, David Nuttall, your predecessor in Bury North, and he obviously in February 2017, we had a debate in the European Parliament, the first one for 3 hours that was enacted there, and there was a unanimous decision to pass the motion as well. And there is another debate being brought forward to the European to the House of Commons on the 24th of September, I believe, and I don't think the date's been decided yet, but we shall know next week. But as an APPG, member of the APPG, the Vice Chair of the APPG, I commend the APPG on Kashmir for bringing these debates to the Parliament and highlighting them. How will you support?
Well, first of all, can I pay tribute to Debbie Abrahams, because it's through her hard work and work with the Backbench Business Committee that this debate is happening. It's not been confirmed yet. It's not been confirmed certainly to me. I will be putting in terms of the process to speak in that debate, and I will be setting out the views that I've said to you within that debate, that I think that very decisive action is needed through the United Nations to achieve the aims that we all want. And the more, I think the basic point of this, and every time I speak about Kashmir, words are one thing, but actions are another. And the way we start and the way we drive this through is by bringing this to the floor of democratic institutions like the House of Commons. You talked about the debate in the European Union. Hopefully we have support within the United States Senate and the Congress over there, and create this movement for change that is going to be unstoppable. And I hope it will, because at the end of the day, this is human rights. We consider ourselves, whatever Brexit and all the other debates that are going on at this moment in time, we are unified by a belief that people should be free to live their lives as they want to without being treated in the most appalling manner. That unifies us all, and we must keep hammering that message home.
Can I, about the debate, on the 2017 debate, one thing that was very obvious to the people sitting in the gallery, and I myself was sitting there too, and hopefully I'll be there again this time, that there was a lack of representation on the blue benches. Can I plead with you to lobby the Conservative members of Parliament to fill those seats this time, to come and support the motion on Kashmir, please?
I won't. There will not be a need to lobby Conservative members of Parliament. Conservative members of Parliament in 2017 were elected into many seats which have traditionally been Labour seats with large Kashmiri heritage diaspora populations, and they are at the forefront of this debate now. They're at the forefront of the APPG. So although I will speak to my colleagues, I can give you a guarantee that I will not need to lobby anybody. They will be there because they are united in the beliefs of what I say, but more importantly the beliefs that the only way to secure democratic change is by standing up to be counted in Parliament. We are backbench MPs. We work better as a bloc rather than as individuals. This is a chance for us to work as that bloc to ensure that the government minister who will be there hears the voice of Conservative MPs who will be there demanding and asking that we put in train the necessary diplomatic actions to at least try to influence this situation. A debate is fine and we will all say what we want to do, but hopefully at the end of it we will secure action. And that's the aim of everyone. Labour Party, Liberal, Scottish Nationalists, we are all united in that belief. We will continue to try our best to influence national policy and international policy for the benefit of all those people in Kashmir who are being treated in the most appalling manner.
James, thank you very much for joining us. Finally, what message would you like to give to your community in Bury North?
Well, I just want to say that thank you very much for inviting me. I take every opportunity to speak about my wonderful Kashmiri and Pakistani community within Bury North. I'm extremely grateful to them, the people who voted for me, but I'm extremely grateful for having the chance to work with them, to speak with them, to try and represent some of their hopes and aspirations. And that's what I'm here for. We're here to create change. We're here to make sure that every single person's voice is heard, that your hopes, whatever they may be, they know that they can come to me and I will represent those. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed. You've been listening to myself, Harry Boota, and James Daly, my special guest, James Daly MP for Bury North, on the issues, and hopefully, as you say, the issues will never go away, and neither will we. See you next week. Bye.